All right, this is Flat Out here. I'm doing a part 2 to my video of Wolfie6020's navigation challenge. I know that I don't think a winner has been selected yet, so as far as I know, there haven't been too many flat Earth proponents putting forth their ideas, so I'm still really aiming to get $1,000 out of this. So I've had several questions on my video and in 6020's thread. I don't know how to do those little corner things, but if you look down in the description, you can find a link to Wolfie6020's channel and video, and then you can also, there's a link to my part 1. If you don't watch part 1, this part 2 will probably make no sense. So the number one question that I have asked is, how do you know when you've reached the vanishing point? So basically is how this works. When you leave the MPP, you ask someone in the flight tower to wear a Vanishometer. If the guys in the flight tower do not want to wear a Vanishometer, you can basically leave one of your guys in the close vicinity of the MPP. So you depart in a perspectively direction with a touch of density, and when you get into this this point here, you want to radio back to this guy. And so you'll do things like, hey, this is Whiskey Tango Foxtrot 777 radioing back to the Stardacing Vanishing Point. I'm reporting that I'm at a buoyancy of 15. So that is basically height. So you're telling this guy the height above the water, which is a buoyancy 15. So he adjusts his Vanishometer to accommodate for a buoyancy of 15. At that, and so I'll be showing you how to use a Vanishometer in just a little bit. So basically, he then calibrates the Vanishometer for a buoyancy of 15, and so when the instrument reads that you've hit the vanishing point, he will radio back to you, Whiskey Tango Foxtrot 777. I'm reading that you've reached the vanishing point. So at that point, you can make like a circle in this area, and you leave a guy in a raft right here. And so he is basically going to use a Vanishometer calibrated for a buoyancy of 15 or 6, depending on whatever you're at, till you get to vanishing point number 2. Here you leave another guy. Now you'll notice that these legs that are going in the direction of electromagnetism, for example, these are 1/6 of a vanishing point. And so this guy calibrates his Vanishometer for your stated buoyancy, your height above the water. So you got a buoyancy of 15 again, and he then there's instruments and markings on the instrument to use, like, for example, 1/6 of a vanishing point. So he will radio Whiskey Tango Foxtrot, you've reached 1/6 of a vanishing point. So you drop another guy here, you just repeat this process, leaving a guy, or a girl for that matter, with a Vanishometer at each point. So when you get to this point, and you find the girls, the blondes, both of them were floating head up, so you can see their blonde hair, you're kind of faced with a choice. You can attempt to navigate back to the guy who is at vanishing point 5. Now, some people ask, how is this vanishing point 5 and this is also vanishing point 5? And that happens because these are on the same atmospheric lensing flatitude. And so you can actually use the same vanishing point number for both of those points. But anyway, I mean, that's a side note. So you're faced with the decision at this point to attempt to fly back to this guy, or you can go use help from him to go to Vanishing Point 5.1, for example. At 5.1, you can leave a guy here, and you'll take the two blondes, and he will use his Venice Meter to get you back to here, and basically you retrace the steps, you pick up all these guys, and you head back. If at this point, the issue that everyone says, oh, but you left a guy at sea. And I'm like, yeah, but I got two blondes. And so for me, I mean, that is an acceptable trade. If, for instance, I never found the blondes, and while I was playing the fuel bingo, I never got my E, and I ended up way out here, ended up having to land in Africa, for example. Now you're like, well, you left all these guys at seas and you never found the blondes. And I'm like, it's not a big deal. And here's why. Because someone has to find the blondes still anyway. And while he's out there, he can just pick those guys up. I mean, I guess that's my conclusion. The other question that was asked is, where did I get the flight navigation app for Fuel Bingo? Basically, you can go onto the Android app, probably Apple too, and you'll want to search for Flat Earth Navigational Aids, and then you'll see Fuel Bingo as the app you can download. And so when you're doing the Fuel Bingo, you can do this. Now you notice that there are things like yes, no, and there's numbers. So if the radio guy at the MPP contacts you and he says, Whiskey Tango Foxtrot 777, do you know where you're at? You can just go like this, and you hit this right here, and you can say yes, and he'll say, please verify your location, and then you can hit these numbers, and you can go, I'm approximately 10 buoyancies high, and I'm 94 densities off your density ashore, for example. So I mean, this is a really helpful tool. If you're doing long missions, it helps you do days and months. So I mean, it's not only is it a navigational aid, but it's a radio communication aid as well. Now, I want to talk a little bit about the Venice Meter. A lot of flat earthers get a lot of flack because we get asked questions about, oh, where's perspective? How far is perspective? Da da da. The reality is we are inventing all kinds of things like the Venice Meter, the perspectometer, the buoyancy meter. All these things are being worked on. I mean, I've got a workshop. I build drones to do high elevation perspective experiments. I've been working on the Venice Meter. I don't have a whole, I'll show you how to use it tomorrow. But I mean, this is the Venice Meter here. It has this hose, and that's because this whole thing you can use barometry to calibrate it. So basically this hose here, when it's hot, it's more stretchy. And when it's cold, it's not as stretchy, and so it's got there's a plumb bob that goes down on here that is density driven. It's raining outside. I'd show you how the Venice Meter works. I'll do another video tomorrow. But FE Core has been working on all the reflexology of this system. They've been working on the rubber, the right kind of rubber to get the right kind of barometry. And anyway, I don't want to, but we are doing things like this. We just don't talk about it. And the reason we don't talk about it is, it's like raining at my house. And it just reminds me of the night when Thomas Edison put a kite up in the sky and with a key on it and got electrocuted. And that gave him ideas, and he got together with Tesla, and they together invented electromagnetic spectrumism. And then, what happened to their ideas? They got stolen. Benjamin Franklin stole all of Tesla's ideas and a bunch of government crap, and basically Benjamin Franklin died a rich man, Tesla died a pauper. And we in the flat earth community don't want to talk about all our ideas because you guys will steal them, and we will end up poor. So anyway, tomorrow, tune back, and I will show you how to use the Vanishing Meter.